We are live. Let me test the audio, make sure everything is good on my end. Thank you so much for joining me. Today is going to be a fun painting process. Connection looks a little slow, but whatever. So I'm going to let some people in. Hey, Akshata, how are you doing? Thank you for being here. Okay, now it looks a little better. We'll see. We'll have to monitor because last time we had a bit of downtime, nothing too serious. But yeah, it's going to be fun. Today we're going to paint this thing together. Look forward to it. I mean, I already painted it. I have a filmed painting process to share with you of that. That's how it's going to be. And we are starting 1 hour earlier than usual. That's just how I want to do it. To me, it's 2 hours earlier because of daylight saving time that we still haven't started. But in the US, they have. So for anyone in the US, we're now 6 hours. 6 hours apart, and I'm starting this 1 hour earlier. Hey, Nico, how are you doing? Now, Liron finally made it to a live. It's 1 a.m. here in New Zealand. Okay, cool. Yeah, I figured it's going to be a decent time for other places too. Hopefully, Europe, kind of similar clock like us, around 12 in the noon. So yeah, that's going to work. Hopefully. Hey, Dwayne, it's been a while. Hope you're doing well. Hey, Jacqueline, good morning. I'm here at the beginning. Awesome, Jacqueline. I knew you had some. You were worried about the hour, but you said you will make it. So yes, let me test the audio. That's going through the correct. Hopefully, I don't know why the sound is a little. If I speak into the mic a bit, I want to make sure. Okay, we'll see. I don't. It's super delayed. Oh yeah. Okay, it's my fault. Okay, yeah, it's going to be hopefully good enough. I don't know. We'll see. If the connection improves a bit, I think the audio will be better, but no worries. Actually, I'm also planning on posting a video just narrating this process, because it's good. But I think the live stream will provide a lot more gems, I'm pretty sure, because I have a lot to say about this process. And we're going to do this format like this. But yeah, I want to let a few more people join, and then we'll get started. But thank you, Jacqueline, so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Sharzad, how are you doing? Dallas, 7 a.m. Awesome. Thank you. People really came through. Betty, good morning. Liron, writing from Atlanta. Awesome. Thank you for being here. Joanna, hey, really looking forward to this. Hello from Joanna in Wales. Cool, cool. Yeah, I turned on the notifications. Awesome. That is a big brain move for sure. So yeah, this process is very interesting. Now, I could share, just for fun, the end result. I can just show it, actually. I think it's best to just show it like this. Hey, DS from France, thank you for being here. The reason this process is quite interesting is there are a lot of subtleties and nuances in how I did things, and there is one technique. I think it's correct technically to call it a technique that you don't see me utilize a lot, and it's super nuanced, super gentle. So I think this format is perfect to show it and break it down. Hey, Ninard. Hey, Liron, so glad I managed to catch you on live. Thank you so much for all your advice. It's been so useful. Thank you. Thank you so much. And DS, hello as well. Sue, hi from Ontario, Canada. Awesome. We have people from everywhere here. Sharon, hi, Liron, Mumbai here. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. So yeah, let's get started. Let's not waste time. It is early in the morning. I want to have everyone who's here reward you for joining. For many people, it's quite early. I know, not for everyone. So yeah, let me see here. I think I'm going to close this window that may be slowing things down just for a while. And yes, Selena, this is an exciting process, I think. So here we go. I'm going to get started with the drawing stage. Now, I have a lot to say about the drawing stage here. I know it's going to be super light and bright. Don't worry. What I'm going to do is I went over it digitally. You're going to see later on a clearer sketch. But just saying, perfect time here, noon UK, exactly, Helena. That's what I had in mind. We're like, okay, UK, what time is that for 2 p.m. our time? That's 12. That's awesome. That's great for people for their afternoon, for noon break, rather. So yeah, I do want to mention something here, and hopefully you're seeing the sketching process as decently as possible. Actually, with the live stream's quality compression, it may be a little harder to see, but when I upload the video, I don't know when it's going to be, not soon necessarily, you will see it a little clearer. But what I do want to mention is, here's the thing. So for a lot of complex paintings that I do, I like to trace. When there's a lot of details, there's a lot of things going on, I will trace. I'll put my paper on my screen. It's light enough. I can close the blinds or something. I see everything, and I can sketch all the details very accurately. Now, here's the thing. Tracing, while it is great to get all the small details and nuances, for scenes like this where the drawing isn't necessarily that challenging, I find that just for me, it ends up 10 times better if I draw it from observation. The reason why is I'm more familiar with it because I had to look, compare, see, test out, sketch. When you trace, it's more of a robotic action. For me personally, I'm less familiar with the sketch when it is time to paint. So to me personally, it is superior to draw from observation if possible. Sometimes it's not practical. For the huge Ponte Vecchio painting that I showed you 2 meters, you're not going to sketch it out from observation. It doesn't make any sense not to project, trace, do whatever method you can. But for these scenes, I find it's 10 times better if I rely on a sketch I did myself from observation. That's just how it is. Now, there are some tricky things here. When you look at the perspective, there is perspective in nature too. And the placement of the horizon line, there's a tendency to flatten things out. I talked about this before. It's just something that happens. So there are some tricky things to pay attention to here. Pamela, hey, thank you for being here, new here, but I've always enjoyed your videos. Awesome. Thank you for being here, Pamela. And it's fun that you managed to join on a live stream where I paint. Because they've been a little more rare just because they require a bit more setup. They're a bit more involved. Now, don't worry. I know you may not see the pencil lines as well as I would hope to. I have no idea, by the way, why it is. I didn't even edit the video. It was just natural light from outside. I think because it was early in the morning. It was about, I mean, not early. It was 7, 8 a.m. So the light really pours into the window. It kind of blinds it. And I tried making it clearer. Nothing worked, like contrast, none of that. Nancy, thank you for being here from Akron, Ohio. By the way, let me know in the chat, is this better or worse in terms of time for you and your time zone? If you can mention your time zone, if I remember, that's great. But if I won't, it will help me. Is this better to start at 8 a.m. Eastern instead of 9 a.m. Eastern? Let me know. I think 9 is like a middle thing where 8, maybe you have more time before you need to do stuff. 9 is a little later. I don't know why I decided on 9 a.m., but let me know if that time is a little better for you, or if it's a little worse, that's fine. Either way, I just want to know. So we're almost done with the sketch. What I'm putting in now is the smaller details. The sketch is quite accurate, actually. One of the things that really pulled me into this scene and made me want to paint it, and as soon as I'll show you the sketch digitally, I'll pause the video. And I'll talk a bit about more of what I've done here. I really woke up yesterday feeling like, it was yesterday, I believe, yeah, feeling like painting a scene from Antarctica. I don't know why. I have no idea. I just felt like it. Dwayne, 7 Central here in Wetumpka, Alabama. Time works great for me. Awesome. Perfect. Either time works for me. Okay, good. For me, earlier is better. And now you can see the sketch. So let me pause the video here. And hopefully you can see it properly. Let me rewind a bit. Let's show you this. Okay, so this is my sketch so far. To me, it's better because the light shifts around 4 p.m. So if I start the live stream at 4 p.m., 3 p.m. here, it's not ideal. But if I can go earlier to 2 right now, and after DST, it's going to be 3, which is better. Not perfect, but better. So yeah, it would work better for me. Betty, it's 8 here in Georgia. Eastern works for me. Awesome. Joanna, this is an excellent time for me. Okay, cool. We'll probably change it then. This is good for me. I have to leave for my crafting group at 10 a.m. Okay, cool. So this is the sketch. Now, I was going to mention, yeah, okay. The reason I woke up really early to paint Antarctica. I don't know why, but I did it. So I opened up a bunch of videos on YouTube, and I did link the reference photo in the description box. So if you want to check it out, it's a screenshot I took from a video on YouTube. I just opened a bunch of videos. I really liked this scene. I took tons of 10 maybe screen captures, and this was my favorite one. So I ended up painting that. Now let's progress it a bit so you can see the reference photo as well. So I ended up using this picture for the process. And the thing that really attracted me to it, and you can probably relate, there's something about Antarctica that is magical, also very lonely, but in a good kind of, I don't know how to explain it, nostalgic kind of way, that I really wanted the ice, the large pieces of ice there in the water, something about it, about the feeling of being completely isolated, that feels really cool. And I wanted to capture that. And out of all the screen captures I took from the video, this was the best one for that effect. Did I forget my, oh no, my water. Out of all of them, this one just was the best in conveying that kind of a feeling. So that's why I chose that. And it does have an interesting composition. It does have interesting colors. Now, talking about colors, let me say a word or two about the colors I'm using. So as you see here, this is what I will often do. I have a mess in my palette, and I just go ahead and add water to it. So you can see here, I just brought water in over everything that I had there. To me, I just take it to wherever I want to. Now, let's talk about colors, because I've been asked about what colors I've been using here. People always want to know the colors. That's what people obsess over, and that is fine. The real tricky part here is not the colors, because if you look at the scene, everything is neutral. Everything is gray. Everything is muted. The tricky part was finding how much close to gray it should be, but still that it has the feeling of some colors. So the colors I use here are very normal. It's phthalo blue, quinacridone rose. I did use yellow ochre. You're going to see in a second. I didn't cut out a lot of the mixing because, the format of the live stream is very talkative anyway. So I don't mind having some video to back it up. Ruth is here. Bye. She's just going to walk out. Or not. Bye. Ali. Everyone wants to see you. Come here. Okay, good. You can see a bit of her. There she is. So yeah, what you see here, phthalo blue, maybe a bit of ultramarine, quinacridone rose, and yellow ochre, completely normal colors. The tricky bit is neutralizing, making it look neutral. Even my quinacridone rose, I sometimes kind of alternated between something more of a carbazole violet, but remember, carbazole violet is pretty much phthalo blue and quinacridone rose. It's all the same. That's the point. The hard part was recognizing the nuance. Is it a gray that is blue? Is it a gray that is violet? Is it a gray that is, all of these nuances? Is it a little warmer than the rest? All of this was very challenging to notice. And so, yeah. So you see me starting with the first wash. Now, here's something interesting, because you may look at this and look at the cloud up above. And by the way, let me see what you're saying here. Jacqueline, my hubby loves Auburn. I'm in Alabama. Okay, cool. That's the Eagle talk. Okay, cool. And thank you so much, Silvar. Is it Sylvia something? Silvar. Okay, hopefully I pronounced it correctly. I was used to 9 a.m. Eastern. This is good too. Thank you, Trish. Okay, good. So yeah, you may look at the cloud and think to yourself, it's kind of light and white. Now, I sampled the entire photo, so you can find in the link below a sampling of all of the colors in this photo, the main ones. Nothing here is white. Nothing is paper white. Nothing. Everything that looks white, even that highlight on the ridge, it's not white. So the baseline here is already a bit of kind of a lilac-y, gentle, violet-y color. Okay, it's a bit hard to see here, but it's very easy to see in the video. Now, this part is very involved technically, because what I want to do, my plan is how can I convey, and you can see my cursor, there's a fly here, Ruth is trying to hunt him. My plan is to frame this, everything that is lighter, not white though, I know it looks white, it's not white, frame it in one go all the way down to the water here, and capture all of the nuances in the clouds and the sea and the details, and it just is so beautiful, and it conveys that feeling of isolation that I was really curious about. By the way, I see the connection quality is wavering. If some frames are skipped, if I miss something, just let me know, I'll rewind. I can rewind the video freely. So yeah, now you see me adding a bit of yellow ochre, and I'm going up to the peak of the mountain, even though the mountain is not going to stay paper white. And what I'm doing is painting essentially the cloud. And this is why very often, you paint something and it doesn't look right, and you look at it and you ask yourself, why doesn't it look right? It often happens when we interpret something that is gray or dark or mid-value as white color, and it just does not look natural. That is just how it is. That's our brains are very susceptible to these effects, and it's totally fine. There's a weird beep. I don't know what it is, but whatever. So yeah. So now it is about how can I start introducing those dark blue grays down below to make the cloud feel lighter. Okay. One more thing I will say is, maybe you've caught it, maybe you haven't. This paper is hot press. Now, hot press paper is more prone to drying unevenly. It does have its advantages, but it can happen a lot more. So I'm starting by default. My mindset is, which I don't often have a mindset, but here I'm like, more water than usual. As much water as I like to usually have, this requires more water. And that's just how I went about it. And you can tell there's a bead, it's quite wet, and it's quite a strong wash in terms of the wetness. I can darken it later on with introducing gradually darker and darker paint. But the one thing I can't do is start very strong. I can do it. I'm just risking, lacking in the flow department. Let me see. I'm sorry that I need to kind of check things on my end. Yeah, okay. It's just, I don't know why it's complaining about low quality. That's fine. I see the video. Okay, that's okay. But you'll let me know if you want me to rewind or anything like that. I don't know why the connection can sometimes be slow here, but I learned my lesson. I'm not going to switch connection. Now look at how strong this paint is. I'm using mostly phthalo blue, a bit of neutral tint if I want to darken it quickly. But to be honest with you, I tried laying really low with the neutral tint. So most of my muting down, you see, happens with quinacridones and with yellows. Now, if you look at a photo, it is more neutral than what I painted, because I still love colors. And I do love showing when a certain color pops more. So there is a bit of that here. 1. 2, I know it's going to dry a little more muted and less vibrant. So I'm okay. I'm accounting for that. But just know it is a little stronger in the color department. Now, so I got a smooth transition from that cloud down to the water. And I'm going to paint around the chunks of ice, huge pieces of, glacier, whatever it is. And I am using relatively strong paint, so I'm taking a bit of a risk here. I need to work fast. I need to make sure it stays wet. The reason I want to do that is because I am after that smooth look. I am after that smooth transition as much as possible. Sometimes it won't matter. Now, if you look at the left side of the scene, which you can see right here where my finger is, it started to dry. I cannot split my attention between the right and left side, so I just knew that it's going to be okay. There's going to be less attention on the left side. It's going to create a hard edge, which, by the way, in hot press, I see, Jacqueline, you don't like hot press. In hot press, you can reawaken that edge a little more easily and get a smoother transition, which I haven't done here, actually. I just kept it as a hard edge. I don't know. It looked okay to me. I kind of go with my gut, what it tells me. Does it look okay? It looks okay. If it looks okay, I'm not going to change it if it ain't broken. So yeah. So this would be the first very involved part, or rather wash, or part of a wash, if you want to treat it that way, where I'm still, you see, I added a bit more yellow ochre. I'm still trying to figure out if I need to make more out of that wash to the right. I'll probably leave it as is without touching it, while the wash on the left did dry with a bit of a hard edge. By the way, if you have any questions about the process, feel free to ask. I have a lot of thoughts on this one, so I'm going to spew them out anyway, but I'm just saying if you have any questions. And with that, it kind of wraps up this particular wash. I think this is a good time to take some questions if you have them. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. If you don't, that's fine, and we'll continue. But what I will mention is, again, this, you can see my cursor. This on the left here, once everything dries, it's going to be much weaker in a good way. It's going to be sent to the background. I did not capture all of the nuances in the clouds there, but I kind of liked the way it looked. So again, I'm going with my intuition, what it tells me to do. Worst case, I can always go back and add details. I can still do that, though I won't, because I kind of like it. I really, really like this one. You'll see, like, this is a really interesting part. As soon as I add that main mountain in the middle, you'll see exactly how it all falls into place, and how things that look very light and white aren't actually white. And that's something I'm going to talk about in Saturday's video, by the way. It's going to be another special video, so stay tuned. Let me tell you for sure you want to watch it. It's with the couple walking through that village. You'll like it. Let's see what you're saying here real quick. Jacqueline says, I don't like hot press. I've used it a few times, but really it's too smooth for me. Yeah, it depends on if you like the look too. I love that look. I always forget, and then I'm reminded of it again. I absolutely love when when the tooth or the edges aren't influenced by the texture. Whenever I do end up painting like this, I love the result. But yeah, it's a matter of personal taste. That is fine. You know, everyone what they prefer. Nico, is your color mixing intuitive, or do you do some color mixing trials beforehand to figure it all out? So not beforehand, but while painting, I do have this little piece of paper that I swatched over. That's a great question. Sometimes I will do mixing in advance. Sometimes when I feel like it's a bit of a challenging scene, I will swatch it on Photoshop. And I can actually show you. Let me just remove this for a second. Let me share with you just real quick, because I think some of you will get value out of this. I do present, share screen, window. So it's going to be this one. So this is me swatching it. So I went from top to bottom. This is how I like to do it. I keep it simple. I just swatch top to bottom different areas that are interesting. When you look at this here, the background is white. Do you find any color here that is white? There's nothing here is white on this photo, which is fascinating because you can look, it's so misleading. Now, you can decide to make it, you can decide to change it up, you can decide to make it lighter, higher key, that is fine. But if you want to actually match what is there, it's not. And as you see, the lighter values are more neutral. Like this is probably the most gray there is here. Maybe this, I'm not sure. But warm too. And the darker values tend to be a little more on the blue side. So this value that is darker, it's not black though, and I hit it really close actually now that I look at it, is very kind of muted navy blue, I would say. These areas right here, you see, they're gray, but they're a little blue, right? So it's going to be something like this. So I just swatched them out. Seeing them on a light background really, really helps for me, and I use that as my reference. That's how I usually do it. If it's a more involved scene, or a scene that I perceive to be a little more challenging on that front. If it's values that I find challenging, then I will use a black and white version, but usually that's enough. Now, I want to direct your attention to one more thing. When I look at this mountain ridge, one thing I notice is this part feels a little bluer. Now, I don't know if it's because there's shadow there, a bit more shadow, turns it darker, and it looks a little bluer. But you will see me putting that spot in. You'll see it's going to be very blue compared to the rest, and it's going to look really good. So yeah. Jacqueline, I was very interested in how you were going to paint the white. It's cool that you use digital color matching. Yes, I will sometimes use that if it's really confusing, if it's a scene made up of nuances. If you look at artwork by August Sandstrom, wonderful painter, and he paints a lot of the more Nordic, kind of dark, gloomy views. Oops, I changed the speed of the video somehow. Let's see. Can I fix that? I don't want it to play fast. Playback, speed, normal. Okay, that looks normal. So these kinds of scenes, it's these kinds of scenes that require a bit more of noticing the nuances, which I like. So let's continue with the process here. I'm going to show you how I'm approaching the rest. It's really annoying that it shows the connection is not strong. But what are you going to do with it? That's fine. That's just how it is. I think it hurts the quality a bit, but that is fine. Oops, full screen will look better. I mean, you don't see me very well, but the video looks good. So that's what matters. Actually, that's what matters. I don't care. So yeah, we're gonna get started. Now, remember what I told you. I'm gonna pause. Sorry for teasing this section because this is the most interesting part, in my opinion. One thing that that I talked about a lot lately is I'm going very reactionary. I put something and I see what it looks like. With this approach of using more water, it gives you even more time. So look at what I'm doing here. I'm placing this paint. I don't know how close it is, but look at the bead. This gives me so much time to change things around. But first, let's put something there, because this point where the peak of the mountain is crucial, because it needs to be lighter than the water to the left, but slightly darker than the clouds above it. So it's almost like you have two values and you're trying to sandwich in the right one, just in the middle. And you'll see now that I look at it, I think to myself, okay, that it's close. Now, you'll see, I did end up with making it a little lighter than the cloud, or almost as light, because it looks good. But that's the rationale behind what I was trying to do. Now, notice when I put that wash in, I splashed a couple of dots there. There weren't there earlier. I just want to show you this, okay? For everyone who's very terrified, you see this? I just plopped that drop in accidentally. For anyone who's terrified of these things happening, it is okay, nothing happened. And the best part is, the best thing I could do is not to touch it, not to dab it, not to do anything. I wanted to, I said I'll just keep it there and let it dry slowly. It was better than dabbing and lifting back accidentally. Now look at how just putting this in starts putting the mountain in the right context. It starts to feel like a part of the scene. And there's something very satisfying. This is me coming back with water. There's something very satisfying with putting in the final color, if you can, and seeing what it's going to look like, the final version. Similar to how you paint with oils, maybe even gouache sometimes. There's something very satisfying about that. And the reason I'm going to take a screen capture of this, because I love this frame. Maybe I'll use it for the thumbnail of the video that I may post in the future. There's something very fun and pleasing about that. Now, I'm coming back with some water, because this is my way of keeping the areas that are lighter. Sometimes it is easy to put a wash and blend the edge. Other times, and I've shown you this before, it's easier to just add water and let the paint do its thing. So the paint will move in the place where there's more water. It's going to move away from it or to it, depending how you do it, but smoothly. That's the thing. The key is how to control that nuance. Now, this is still not the coolest part. You'll see the coolest part is coming soon. What you have to remember is this is hot press paper. You have to be a little careful with it, but you can get a lot out of wet and wet here if you start light enough. But one thing to remember is the moment you put the paint on paper, it is starting to dry slowly. So I'm very aware of the fact that this part right here is starting to dry very gradually. That is fine. I need to take that into consideration. If I'm going to change something, if I'm going to do wet and wet, I can't come back with the same mixture I have here, because this mixture is large. It's going to stay wet. But as soon as I come back with something as wet as this onto here, what you're going to get is a lot of effects, maybe desired, maybe undesired. You have to be aware of that. It's going to push the paint out of the way. And you may get, if you're doing it too late, you'll get a lot of cauliflowers. Sometimes, in my experience, you're better off just re-wetting the whole thing and starting new while it's still creating the cauliflowers. But that's fine. But what I do have to remember, again, if I want to revisit this section with wet and wet, which you're going to see in a couple of seconds, I need to match the wetness here, meaning go stronger on the paint that I'm going to use. Now, depending on how much I want the paint to stay in its place or move and disperse is how much thicker the paint I'm going to use is. So if this is how wet this area is, I have to go a little less wet, for sure, in order to get the paint not to move everything. But also, how much lower I'm going to go than this spot depends on how much I want the paint I'm adding to stay or move within it. That's where the nuance comes from, and you're going to see. And I'm actually going to reverse because I'm not facing you. So I'm going to take this screen, and I'm going to move this screen over here. You don't see any change, but I will now be looking more at you. So yeah. I've tilted the paper a bit. I wanted more flow, but now it is time to start thinking about what do I want to bring out of it. So what you see here is, and sorry, there's a lot to say. Sorry that I pause every 3 seconds, but so this part is lighter, right? You see it's a little bit of a lighter section. You can see it here too. And these parts here under it should be a little darker. You can see that lip, and you see there's a bit of a darker area here, and a bit of a darker area here, and a bit of a darker area here. And there are some nuances, so we need to capture those. And we, of course, will add this section with a bit of blue. So I think this is when I'm going to, no, okay, I'm coming back with some water to push the paint a little more. Everything is wet enough for me to be able to do that. There's a lot to talk about in this process. I got super lucky with everything working out just how I wanted it to. But look at what I'm doing here. Okay, this is the clickbait of this video, the thing I told you about, the technique I've never shown before. It's starting now. Okay, let me rewind just 10 back. It's starting now. Betty says, notice that the brush is full of water. Do you use all of the water until you reach the end of the picture and then tilt it until it is dry? Sorry, again, notice the brush is full of water. Do you use all the water until you reach the end of the picture and then tilt it until it's dry? I'm not necessarily going to keep it tilted. I may put it back if things start to dry evenly. So I can tilt the paper back if that's what you meant. Now, as for the brush itself, it really will depend. Sometimes, if you mean if I'm going to use all the water in the brush, not necessarily. I'm not going to necessarily use everything. I'm going to use as much as I need and then look at it and use more. Sometimes I'll dry it. Sometimes I'll bring water with a very wet brush, and then I'll see it's too much, so I'll dab it a bit on the paper towels that I have here. I hope that answers the question. Let me know. Feel free to clarify, because I think you're asking something very nuanced, and I want to make sure I get it right. Now, here comes the interesting part. So I'm going to use this brush. This is Michael Soloviev, if I'm not mistaken. I think, yeah, it doesn't say. I think it's the one from Michael Soloviev's set. Now, what I'm doing is matching exactly, 1-to-1 almost, the level of wetness on paper. So, again, I told you, if this is how wet the paper is, I have to go a little thicker for the paint to last. Okay, now how much thicker depends on how much I want it to last. Now here's what I want to do. I want it to disperse as if it was painted. Yeah, exactly. So hard to teach that, practice and experiment. Jacqueline, exactly. This is very intuitive. I am trying to, because you'll notice it now when you look at videos, so it'll help. What I'm doing is almost matching it perfectly. So what this will do is almost as if I added that blue when I first painted this wash, and it will push it just a little bit towards the blue and dark, just a little bit. Best way is to actually show you. So let me show you. I'm going to leave this comment on the screen. Helps me to know where I was. So you see, I'm matching the wetness, and look at what the paint does on paper. It's showing, but it's starting to disperse very gently. Under the highlight there, where the cliff kind of changes directions, this is the most important section. And here as well, look at how the paint reacts. And if I'm being honest with you, the way I learned or understood how to do it was by looking at artists like Misselbu on YouTube, which I've been asked about. Because the way they control the paint is just, it's technically speaking, it's the best. You could argue that maybe you like someone else's style more and all of that, but I'm talking just technical prowess. It's just incredible. And I've noticed Misselbu and other artists, other Korean artists, other Chinese artists achieving this effect. Now look at my palette. This is subtle. This is another important bit. So I'm bringing the brush onto the paper. You'll see in a second, onto the palette. Okay, I'm mixing. But look at after I mix, I need to make sure, again, it's dry enough. Okay, not too wet to spread out the paint, which happens often. So look at what happens after I mix this bunch of blue on the palette. I'm dabbing. What this dabbing does, and this is I learned from experience, from just trial and error, it gets rid of the moisture, but it keeps the paint on the brush. So if you want to paint into a wash that is starting to dry significantly, it's already like, it's close to where you can no longer add wet and wet to it. You need to match the level of, you can't go even a little too wet. So what ends up happening is I'll mix the color I want rather dryly on the palette, and then I'll dab. After I mix the paint, I will dab the brush to get rid of the moisture, but the paint will stay in the brush. That's something I learned just from experience. And sure enough, the paint stays, doesn't move too much. It doesn't spread out the colors that were there. It just sits there. And this is something I've never shown you in this level of detail before. So you can make so much more out of washes that are beginning to be very close to dry, to almost unworkable, by matching their level of wetness and keeping the paint very, very strong, by getting rid also of it's first noticing the situation, figuring out when to use it, but then how to do it on a practical level. You can get rid of moisture and keep the paint on the brush. That's something I stared at processes, trying to figure out, how do they do this? How is this possible? That's how I learned it, with obsession. Now, remember this section I told you about, and I started with water. Did you see me putting clean water first? Because I wanted it to flow well, and it's relatively light, and it's bluer. Look at how impactful this blue is, even though it's super light. It's not as saturated. It's not just a lot of blue and a bit water. It's very watered down, but because in the context of the whole scene, it is more blue, look at the big difference that it makes in making this feel like a thinner piece of, maybe, I don't know, glacier. Because these are snowy mountains, but this, in the farther back, it looks like a glacier that breaks into the water. And that's the look I wanted to capture. Nancy, that looks so cool, and I love the neutrals. Thank you. John, hi, Liron. I hope you're well, my friend. Thank you so much, John. And to anyone who joined, don't worry, this live stream is going to be available, of course, on the channel. And I will, in the future, I'm not sure when. It's going to take some time because I want to let it breathe. I will probably upload like a condensed version of this process with narration and recording, not live. But it's going to be a while, and I'm not sure when. And I'm going to use this same blue, by the way, for the small pieces of glacier that are down there. Now, one more thing, if you notice, is the lower section of that glacier. I don't know if the glacier is the right term, but I think it is. The parts where they break off from are darker because of the change in angle. So what you'll see, I don't know if they reflect the water, so it makes them darker, but what I'm doing is mixing again, added a bit of quinacridone rose, added a bit of yellow ochre, and I'm just making it neutral. And now I'm placing that in to make that step feeling. By the way, I was in, is it called Perito Moreno in Argentina, a huge glacier that breaks. We got to see a huge chunk of it break. It was really cool. It made a huge noise, like an explosion. It was really fun. This place looks fascinating to visit, actually, too. So yeah, same blue. I'm putting it into these little icicles because I do recognize it looks the same. And with that, we have probably completed what is the most challenging wash of this scene. And probably, if I compare it to a lot of my other paintings, this is a very challenging wash regardless. Because, and you know, I don't tackle as many landscapes where there's a lot of gentle nuances between the values and the colors. You know, some artists that I follow and really enjoy on Instagram do that. To me, I find them very challenging, you know, like sunsets, sunrises, lots of these types of very nuanced, wet and wet, gentle transitions. So this was a real challenge, but I think it made me kind of step up to it. And from here on, honestly, it's things that I'm very familiar and comfortable with. So what I'm going to do is add these small sections where there is no snow. So what you see is the actual rockiness of the mountains. I assume that's what it is, that's what it has to be. And this is like drawing. This is just like, you know, drawing with your brush. It's a very not repetitive, but it's just you just find the patterns and you draw them. It's much more straightforward. I did have a lot of thoughts as to how much of these to put in. I felt some of them were a little excessive, which is fine. The thing is, the painting is truly made in that wash of the mountain ridge. I would say the mountains and the background and the, you know, all of the sky, clouds, water. That's when the painting is really made. The rest, you can technically stop now, and it would be complete. Now, as soon as you place these pieces in, it starts doing something different to it. It starts to give you different spots to look at. First, you had the glaciers, which is really, I think, enough. By the way, you could just not continue if you want to, but still, you want to give people something to really latch onto, especially near the peak or leading to the peak, which is why I did it. Now, you do see here a bit of backgrounds, but that's borderline perfect to me. So yeah, just wanted to recognize there is a bit of that here, but look at these transitions here. Getting something to be just a little bit blue without it pushing things out or being too aggressive, that was the biggest challenge. And it's all about, again, you're matching that level, and if you can get it right, it can look really, really good. So what we are left with, and by the way, again, I encourage you to ask any questions you have. I'm going to pause for a second just to talk a bit about the plan. What we're left with is a painting that is almost complete. So the one thing that we do still need to take care of is all of these details, and also some spots here aren't accurate enough when it comes to the nuances you see on the mountains and the snow. So you will see me just adding a bit of, like, this area here could be darker, some areas here, some details, some patterns in the snow. It's very nuanced things that I'll add later on. Again, they're not mandatory. To me, this is what watercolors are all about. Everything you've seen up to this point. The rest is just decorations. It really is. This is the part where, to me, it's still the most challenging. And by the way, I see now Karimi says exactly that. Hi, watercolor, actually very hard technique, best wishes. Thank you so much. Yeah, it is until you understand it. As soon as you understand it, it becomes much, much easier. By the way, one thing I forgot to mention, and if you look at, okay, a few things. If you look at the water here, yes, there is a bit of a difference. If you very carefully look at this section, there's a reflection here. Now, the way I can build this reflection, I can still edit, is just by darkening everything else and leaving this reflection here lighter, because this is light enough and this could be darker. It could be darker. I could do it. I just really like the way it looks, but I could do it. That's one thing. The second thing I wanted to direct your attention, we talked about it a bit on the Discord, actually, this huge watermark of Saunders Waterford, which, I mean, bless them. They are putting huge watermark texts. Not always. Sometimes it's just that small square logo, but I like it. I'm still a sucker. I look at it and I'm like, oh, it's cool. It's letting people know what paper it is. But yeah, I've yet to encounter anyone who really cared about this. But someone mentioned I could cut off this section completely, and I could. In terms of the dimensions of the painting, it makes sense. But I mean, this is more painting, so I don't want to cut it out. But yeah. I think people would prefer to have more of the painting. So yeah, now I'm adding this. Now, this was the most contentious, if I can call it that, area in the snow that I was the least certain of how I want to tackle. One thing, I was so excited with how the first steps went that I should have taken a longer break to think about where to place these small details. Because if I took what I just did right now and shifted it a little to the right, it would have been more effective. And then I could put that larger chunk on the shadowy part, meaning right here. And this could have stayed as a highlight. But because I put it here, I needed to darken it too. And you'll see it later on. So this was kind of the most, again, contentious part of this process to me, but still, it looks good. I love this painting so much. So yeah, and you'll see me spreading these out here and there. There's a lot of these little dots where there's no snow, and very often, mountains will be, the majority of them will be this dark value or a brown or some kind of a green, muted green very often, and very little of it will be snow. But here you're getting the opposite way around, whereas everything is snow except for a few points, which again, I love. To me, this adds more to that aspect of isolation. Like, think about this mountain peak. Like, who has ever visited it. You know what I mean? It's so cool. Now, within these darks, there are some nuances. Some sections are a little stronger. Again, strategically speaking, I could have been more thoughtful about where I put the darks and where I put the real darks, and have them match with the pattern I established first. This is just experience, you know. Now that I am more aware of these things, and especially, well, I'm going to talk about that in a second, but now that I'm more aware of it, it's going to be easier the next time. Talking about, you know, next times, again, I don't do many of these scenes. So this is a bit new to me, almost like if you just paint cars and then you start doing florals, it's going to be a challenge. But if you've been doing florals for a long time, maybe cityscapes will challenge you. There is something to learning the patterns of different types of scenes. It's a part of our knowledge as artists. There is something there. The more cars I painted, the easier it became to paint cars. The more landscapes I painted, the easier it got to paint landscapes. The more snowy scenes like this one I'm going to paint, the easier it's going to get. That's just how it is. So yeah, this was a huge learning experience for me. Now I'm going to spread out a few very gentle blues here and there. This is not things I should have or could have put in the previous larger wash, because they're a little stronger. These are for areas that aren't the soft transitions, but actually a lot of them are. They have a bit of a hard edge and then a soft edge. So the tricky bit is figuring out where to put what. So what I'm going to do is blend that left section mostly, but also a bit of the right section. What this does is creates the feeling of steps and shapes within the snow, which I think is a really cool effect. But you have to loosen up some of it too, because sometimes it can look too abrupt. Now, honestly, if you're good enough, you know what you're doing, you could, I don't know, my ear itches. You could get this in the first wash. It is possible, that very involved wash that I did to get it. Maybe I'll be there. Maybe I'll get there at some point. I'm not there yet. These things I end up adding or having to add after the fact. But I mean, these nuances are a huge step for me, like this light, and then this slightly darker, and then slightly blue here, slightly lighter. These, you know, shapes, and the fact that everything looks right in terms of values is a huge win for me. I think it's really a unique painting for sure. Jacqueline, this is helpful. So helpful. When I'm painting a dog's nose, there's shadows and extra shadows. So slight but important. Yes, and what you see a lot of times, that's the number one bane of beginners, is they just paint the lights and the darks. Just the very lights, the very darks. You notice all the highlights, you notice all the black or dark colors, and you end up with nothing in the middle. The middle is what gives it life. This entire mountain ridge is the middle, if that makes sense. This is the darks, right? This would be the light maybe, but this entire thing is in the middle. Now, because it's a snowy landscape, Antarctica, most of it is in the middle. That's what happens with overcast scenes or scenes with no strong sunlight. Strong sunlight leads to strong contrasts. These kinds of scenes tend to be overcast. They tend to equalize the values. That's another pattern you learn, right? If you look at the sunlit street scene, you'll get everything from very lights, very darks. But these overcast scenes, they narrow the value range, and you just get this dark and this light, and the variance is smaller. It's still there, you know. The water is still significantly darker than these lights, right? But yeah, now I'm gonna shape up the mountain. Again, I told you, had I moved all of this a little to the right, it would have solved this problem. But now that I have, I kind of need to fix it. Joanna, composition-wise, you have to be careful when putting the darks in that they don't stop the viewer's eye from traveling through the painting. And I would say more than that, and that's a huge risk I took here, is placing them close to the edge, which is another tricky bit. Now, it is there in the photo, but just because it's there in the photo, it doesn't mean you have to edit in. Now, I decided to edit in this time. Maybe another time I won't. You could invent them. You can place them in different spots. But yeah. To me, it was a risk. Maybe it could have been placed better, but it's not enough to take away from the overall composition, thankfully. And it still kind of leads you back between this dark spot and the peak and this spot, which I really, really like. Yeah, I wouldn't want it with, so I visualized it without this section. I wouldn't want it. I did it also with the real painting. Like I tried figuring out what would happen if I didn't have this here. And I don't know, it's missing. Something's missing there. Sometimes the composition is just inherently tricky, meaning it poses a lot of compromise. And some compositions don't, so a lot of, also, I think the way I take photos is trying to find the no compromise. So I'll take a photo where everything is perfect to my needs and my taste. Whereas, it's not always going to be the case. Even with photos you take, it's not always going to be the case. You learn to get better at it. But especially if you take a screenshot from a video. And it was a drone footage, so, and every scene immediately kind of snapped and disappeared. So ideally, I would let the drone was moving, if I'm not mistaken, forward. Yeah, so this is another interesting one, because it was a drone footage moving through the mountains. And this bit here, the more it moved, this bit disappeared. And I wanted it. I didn't want it to be cropped here. And because it got closer, we lost that section. So I had to stop it here. Ideally, I would have pulled back a little more. I just didn't have that frame and have this a little more up there. This is how these things work. If you take screenshots from a video, you can play around with it, but to a limited extent. But I did have that in mind. Now that I think about how I took the screenshots, that was something on my mind too, by the way. Dwayne, so for overcast or scenes with limited value range, would a value study be irrelevant or still helpful? No, I would argue, Dwayne, it's going to be more helpful, because when the values are more nuanced, it's just harder to tell. To me, it's definitely the other way around. So if I have a street scene hit by tons of sunlight or strong lights, strong darks, it's easier for me to see the values. Whereas with this nuance, it's harder. So for these, I may end up doing more value studies. Now, it will depend on a lot of other factors. For this one in particular, it felt enough for me to swatch the colors and see their value, and just see the fact that there's no white. As I've showed you, none of the colors are white. So I know, okay, I don't have to preserve any paper white, which is a lot. It's very freeing. You don't just paint over everything and then darken wet and wet. But it's going to be different for different people. If you're very accustomed to painting overcast scenes, you may find that you kind of know your way around them. There's a lot in it. Like and you are correct, by the way, in saying if the scene is overcast, then the difference in value is minor, then all I have to really do is paint something a little darker than another thing. And you can work in a relative sense instead of an absolute sense. So if you paint absolute values, you'll try and match every value. But if you paint in a relative sense, you'll start with maybe your focal point, get it the value you want it to be, and then relate everything to that. That's something I do very often. I don't think I ever talked about that, at least in detail, and works really, really well. I start with a spot, get it to look perfect, and then I relate the rest to it. So if I painted this spot lighter, I may relate things to it lighter than the reference photo as well. I hope that makes sense. There's so much to it. At the end of the day, it's going to end up just being experimentation. Some people have different triggers that bring in inspiration and make you visualize your vision better. To me, it's strong contrasts. To many others, it's soft ones where they won't need this. These details are also very interesting because you will see strips of darkness there. And this happens when there's also steps in the snow. So maybe some snow fell or broke off. So you get essentially a step in the mountain, and the part that is facing forward instead of up is darker. And it's these beautiful patterns, small, beautiful patterns that really add a lot of interest, three-dimensionality too. We got this pattern almost naturally here. I'm just going to say this was a happy accident, as they say. Thank you so much, Dwayne. Yes, I'm happy it helped. It's super nuanced. It's a good question, so it really brought something special, I think. It's not something I talked about a lot. But yeah, so I'm going to sign this now. I don't remember if after signing this I was done, so we'll have to kind of wait and see. There's a bit more there, so I'm not sure. We'll see. Louise. Hello, Liron from the Canary Islands, Spain. Awesome. Do you ever put water on the back of the paper to preserve the humidity conditions of the process? I have done this a couple of times before. It was very useful. Now, the reason I don't do this a lot is that most of my processes I'm going to go probably stronger on some blues here. Most of my processes don't require long times for wet and wet. For example, this process would not benefit from what you describe in this example because I want this area to stay a hard edge. So while I do have an initial wash that is, it's not small, it's still narrow. If for the way you paint, you like to cover everything up in one go and have everything merged together, which some processes for me are like that, and even with hard edges, it's a matter of like what I want to do, then yes, it would be perfect. You wet both sides, it does help. If you can place it on a plastic surface or something, glass would be better even, it would work even better. To me, all I have is these planks of wood, it still works better. So yeah, for sure. One thing you have to be careful of, by the way, if you do this and you continue, or do you always use the dry paper and add water during the process? Yeah, so as I explained, sometimes I will do this as well, and after the fact. One thing you have to be careful of is what I found is if I wet one side and then I flip to the other and wet the other side too, the side I wet first now is down on my plank of wood here, and it's going to get dirty from paint that was there. So the way I do it, if I do it, is I first wet the back side, then I flip it, and the back side gets dirtied, but the front is not hurt. So just kind of a small nuance. Hey, Salty Little Sloth, thank you for being here. That's a cool username, Salty Little Sloth. But yeah, Luis, I hope it makes sense. So that's how I would do it. And yes, it's very helpful depending on what you are trying to achieve. I found it useful for me, but just for specific paintings. Most of my paintings don't demand that. I'll usually go with what the painting demands, honestly. So yeah. Now what is oh yeah, I'm gonna darken a few bits here, just a few bits, very gently. I wanted to convey, and I'm gonna make it better later on, fix it a bit. I wanted to convey how the parts where you see the rock, where they're in the shadow, they need to be darker. Where in the light on the mountain, they need to be lighter. So these pieces here need to be lighter than these pieces here in the shadow. Thank you. Glad I caught a live stream. Yeah, thank you for being here. Is this your first time catching a live stream? Let me know. And how long have you been subscribed, by the way? I'm curious to hear. Thank you so much. Yansart, hey, Liron, good to see you live. Thank you for being here. In case you missed the rest, don't worry. It'll all be up on the channel. Have you ever messed up signing your name? I always stress out about that. Yes, I have. I just say, yeah, whatever. It's my signature. It hasn't happened in recent history, but yes, when I a couple of years back, it would happen. Yes, I would end up kind of messing it up, and then I would try to fix it, and then I was like, yeah, whatever. As long as the painting is good, you know, the signature. As long as the signature is recognized that it is you, I think it's good enough. Nancy, texture and atmosphere. Wow, thank you so much. Yes, that is the part that adds a bit of texture. I'm trying to be gentle, to be kind of light-handed here. I don't want to go overboard. I don't want to go too dark, too. You can almost go too dark without noticing. Salty Little Sloth. Second time I've been subscriber from about a year and a half. Awesome. Yes, cool. Thank you so much. Yes, a lot of people, you know, I have a lot of subscribers compared to the people who actually watch the live streams regularly. That's just the nature of YouTube. By the way, here is the scan. I'm going to pause it for a second here. That's just the nature of YouTube, you know. So a lot of people have probably never caught a live stream. Now, as always, this looks 10 times better in real life, 10 times more saturated, but it's going to be a little hard to show you. But just trust me, bro, as they say. But yeah, so let's just review it kind of real quick. This cloud that could look white at first, it's not white. This is paper white, right? And I like the way it looks, so I kind of left it there, even though there's no paper white anywhere on the painting. Same goes for this one, same goes for this one. By the way, my scanner is notoriously bad with blues. I don't know why. It's just like that. So just know it's influenced by that. It looks so much better in real life. But yeah, down here, a bit of a layer of cloudy vagueness that I really like. And then immediately into the water here. So you see there's this smooth transition where here you get a cleaner horizon line, which I don't mind at all. Honestly, I kind of like this horizon line. And then, you know, this is a bit of a soft edge, just a bit. This is a bit of a harsher edge with a darker, stronger contrast.
move down here into this little dock. I don't know, this little pool of water. It's not a pool of water, it's the ocean or whatever. But yeah, and here, you could have a reflection. I like this. I like that it's fresh. I love these blues here. They're a huge part of what makes it what it is. This almost looks like an accidental reflection, which is cool. And then you have all of the nuances in the mountains, and these gentle shifts, which I absolutely love. And you see the pencil lines. I don't mind that at all, even though this painting could work well with no pencil lines, I will admit. Maybe I should have a go. And then the blue nuance here that I really, really like. Let's see what you're saying. Helena, it's so beautiful and it always looks so easy. It isn't, because you're a master. Thank you so much. Yeah, some sections of this painting are tough. A lot of it aren't as tough. But yeah, Marjorie, good morning. Just in time to say hello. Thank you for being here. Jacqueline, can you tell me how you say your last name? So beautiful. Yeah, well, in Hebrew, I say Yankonsky. You can say Yankonsky, I guess. The origin is Romanian. It is spelled differently. Also in the origin, it is Ianconescu. That's the Romanian version, and it's not with a Y, but rather I-A-N. So it's Ianconescu. That's the original, but Yankonsky. I just say Yankonsky. Almost as it's written. And look at this watermark. I mean, I like it. I don't mind it. And all of these small mistakes people tend to obsess over, like this little swatchy thing here, the gaps here, this little dot here. I mean, I love these things. They look so good. And if you look at other artists, like even old masters in watercolor, you see a lot of these, not mistakes, but rather random occurrences. And they look really good. I don't mind them at all. Now let's, I think there's a zoom in after this. So I'm going to let this run for a couple of seconds. There we go. If you want to see it in more detail. But quite honestly, let's let it run for a couple of seconds. So yes, that's that. But the real life thing is the best looking version. Honestly, it is. I won't show you on the desk because there's not enough light here, but like this is perfect. I couldn't be happier with it. But let's go back here to this section. And yeah, this is the process. I think, to me, it's one of the first times I was able to utilize this thing so well, like these gradual transitions that are so nuanced. And let me actually go back here, because I honestly think this is a better representation of what it looks like in real life. It's a little. I can actually, you know what? Let me share the scan with you directly as we speak. Sharon says, "Beautiful. I'm going to try it out. Thank you." Jacqueline, I tell my students to watch your channel and was worried I wasn't saying your name right. Oh yeah, no worries. It's pretty. I want to say intuitive, but it's not really an intuitive name. Yankonsky. That's fine. So let's see. I wanted to share with you the actual photo, but I want to correct the colors to make them as close as possible. I don't know why I didn't do this before. I even added it to the gallery, so this one is available for purchase. But then I even there did not fix the colors to show the vibrancy full. Let's see, color correction. Let me do this. I'm gonna make it look just like the real one. Adjustments. Yes, so a bit more of that vibrancy here. There we go. And a little more of the saturation and image. What happens if I do autocolor? Yeah, autocolor messes it up. Adjustments, color balance. You're gonna see. I'll show you exactly what it looks like in real life. It's minor corrections, but you will notice them. Yeah. Highlights gonna go like this. There we go. Okay, yeah, it's gonna be a subtle difference, but it will be a difference. So, oh yeah, and the contrast too. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. So I think this is a little closer to the true colors. I don't know how showing it in the video is gonna mess it up, but that's fine. So I think this is a little closer to the oopsie, that's my bottle. A little closer to the natural colors. I have no idea why it opened it up this small. So let me fix that. Oh, it actually reacts to the size of the window. Okay, that's fun. So yeah, that would be a bit of a better, I think, representation of what this looks like. There we go. I'll just full screen it, whatever. Joanna, wow, it looked amazing in your hand. Yes, that's it. Just looks a little better in real life. That's just how it is. Oh no, that's not the right one. Wait, color correction. That's the one. See the difference? That's closer. Yeah, I had a feeling it looked funny. Jacqueline, people's phone screens show different colors. I had a lady want my octopus painting, but in real life she was disappointed because the colors were darker. I better screen license colors. Yeah, that makes sense. And more than that, like sometimes, you know, if you have night shift mode on your phone, I have it from, I don't know, like 10 p.m. Where it goes the yellow, and then you cannot read any color. So that's another thing. But yeah, that would be the closest. To me, this painting so one of the reasons I was really inspired to paint Antarctican scenes, or a scene, was I remembered seeing. By the way, this is a scanner dot. It's not there actually on the painting. It's funny. There's nothing there. If you'll see the same spot on the painting, there's nothing here. So that's a scanner issue. You can see because it's duplicated. I'll have to clean that up somehow. I remembered seeing some scenes of John Singer's Sargent, I think it was Sargent, in Antarctica, and it's just crazy. I love these kinds of scenes. I think it was him. Or wait, was it someone else? Was it, what's his name? I have to look it up now. I do think it was Sargent, but maybe I'm mistaken. Which really famous watercolor painter painted Antarctica? Well, let me see if I can find it. I'm pretty sure it was Sargent, but I may get this wrong. I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm gonna confirm. If he has, then I should have it in my Painting Masters series. Was it not Sargent? But in any case, I remember I was reminded of that artist. Yeah, I think it wasn't Sargent. I think I know who it was. Wait a second. You're gonna tell me in the chat, but I think I know who it was. Gas. Hello. Can you speak Romanian language? No, not. I know like a few words. Sorry, I will disappoint you. I know like piatra is rock and lapte is milk. I know the most useless words ever, but I think if you're a Romanian speaker, you may get a kick out of it. But yeah, I'm not. I know a couple of others, but it'll take me a second to remember. But because you know, I don't speak Romanian on a regular basis. But what other words do I know in Romanian? Vrei, I know, is one. Do you want something? Vrei lapte? Do you want milk? That's the kind of knowledge I have. I'm so good at Romanian too. That's cool. Now you make me think. Okay, what else do I know in Romanian? But yeah, was it Edward Seago? I think it was Edward Seago. So yeah, Edward Seago. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Edward Seago. Antarctica. Yeah, Antarctica. Yeah, because I remembered an artist I did talk about. It was Seago. Cool. So yeah, that was my inspiration for that. Yeah, let's see. No, let's see what else. Can I share? Let's see. I want to show you some of the inspiration. If I share this Chrome tab. let's see what it looks like. Yeah, okay. So yeah, it's these kinds of things that I remembered seeing and I remembered talking about in the Painting Master series. And I just felt like doing something similar. No, this is, of course, not watercolor. I believe these are all oils. But these are some of my favorite paintings ever. This one in particular. This is so good. And I just felt like doing something similar. So this is the thing that kind of initially gave me the desire. I just woke up like, I need to paint the scene for Antarctica. Oh, that's cool. That's actually... oh, no, it's not. Okay, I thought it was something else. There's an interesting story of Seago going to see going to an Antarctic. What do you call it? I know the word in Hebrew. Let me tell you. No, that's not the word. Expedition. Expedition. So yeah, with I don't know, some royalty, and this probably produced some of my favorite paintings ever. Gigi, good morning from Montreal, or maybe Gigi, I don't know. Let me know. Canada, cool. Thank you for being here. Jacqueline, Slavic language is so cool. I know a few sayings in Croatian sound similar. Yeah, it makes sense. Romanian has this "u" sound. It's very common in names and in just words in general. No, but now I'm thinking, what else do I know in Romanian? I know a bunch of words. I just won't remember now. Miere, I think, is honey, which makes sense, like miel. I'm thinking foods because that's probably what I know. I think I knew. I think bread could be just pan, like any other language. I'm not sure, like Portuguese and like Japanese even. Help me here, Gus. What other Romanian words do we know? But in any case, yeah, that's the process. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you have anything you want to talk about, watercolor related, any kind of topic, I'm going to put it in the background because I kind of like it. The background image for this live stream itself is also from this scene. But yeah, my favorite stages of the painting are definitely these, where it just gets started. I'm gonna let it play in the background. Gigi or Gigi, wow, do you speak Romanian? Bună dimineața, I think. Bună dimineața, you say? Yes. Is that good day or good morning? I'm not sure. That's good. You reminded me now. What else? What else? Ce face, like, what are you doing? Ce faci or ce face? I'm not sure. What else? I mean, I knew a lot because I heard Romanian. You know, my father used to speak with my grandmother, and I would hear it. And as a kid, a lot of it is a lot of it imprints much more easily as a kid. You remember these things a lot more. Let me see if I can do half and half. Can I do half and half? Why won't it? So wait, this and then this. What's the difference? Yeah, whatever. Let's keep it like that. Let's make the painting smaller. So yeah, somehow we always get to talk about languages here. I don't know why. But yeah, to me, this is wonderful because now it is 3:15 p.m. Usually I end live streams at 5:30 or even 6. So now it's the earliest, and I can take the rest of Thursday to chill. I do want to... There's a scene I worked on. I thought, let me show you. I thought it would turn out much better. I'm still halfway through, but like you'll look at it and you wouldn't even know what you're looking at. So I'm not very happy with it. It's a palm tree and it's crap, in short. So maybe I'll try painting on the other side because I do want to work on hot press. Sometimes, you know, you think you get inspiration to paint something. Oops. And it just... Oops, number 2. And it just doesn't work out. I don't know why. And sometimes it works out perfectly, like this one. Let me show you just a couple of things. So this, you've probably seen the video. I posted on Tuesday, I think. this worked nicely. This is like an interior scene here. It's horrifying, but that's fine. It's from direct observation, bad light, and it was really late in the day, and I wasn't focused. So I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. But this one, for example, for Saturday's video, stay tuned. Be sure to watch it. I'm going to show the full process there. It turned out perfectly. So I don't know why some scenes, they just don't end up like you want them to. And sometimes I can't even tell why exactly. Thank you, Jacqueline. Yeah, you like it? I think it barely is, like you can barely understand what it is. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to try and make it better. There's a lot of shadows and details still to add. And like you can visualize it without the blank part. But still, I don't know. It's the view from outside. We see this palm tree and the parking space and the building, but I don't know why it doesn't read as I wanted it to. We'll see. We'll see about this one. And then there's this one. You're gonna see it some other time. This is actually gonna be for a magazine, so keep an eye out for that. Yes, Saturday's video is gonna be interesting. That's the one I'm really looking forward to. I can tease edit. It is a also a sponsored video, so it's a sponsorship. You'll see. Keep an eye out. But yeah, but it's the full process. You'll love it. Whenever I do these videos, it makes me want to make the process even better, like 10 times better, like to make the video the best I can. So it's funny. And it's so funny too, the few single times I do end up doing a commission, even if it's a scene I wouldn't normally paint, it ends up being better because it's for someone. I don't know why. It's just, it brings it out. I'm not really sure how that works. One thing I just remembered, so not this Saturday, but next Saturday is the auction of 6 paintings, the one that I talked to you about. Now I have pictures of them framed up close. If you're curious to see, I can show you. I saved them all on my computer. Nina, have you ever painted with Van Gogh watercolors? And if you have, what's your opinion on them? Yes, I have. It's the first watercolor paint set I've had is Van Gogh. The old palette that has, I think it was 10 colors in it. There was Prussian blue in there was quinacridone rose, there was something similar to Pyrrole Scarlet. There was a very strong red. I like them. I think they're great for beginners. With time, the more I started using Daniel Smith and Winsor Newton, not Cotman, I started to feel the difference. But before that, I actually have a lot of paintings here that I'll have to dig them out. But I can show you maybe in a future video that I did with Van Gogh watercolors. They turned out wonderful. It wasn't the colors or the paint. It was my skills back then, and maybe also the paper. I used cheap paper back then too. It was like 2016, 2017. But I think they're great for beginners. They're some of the best that I found for beginners for like price to value. Yes. It was in pens. It came with pens. It wasn't like tubes or anything like that. I don't even know if they have tubes. I'm not sure. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should work on it. I mean, maybe you refer to the smaller one, right? You must be talking about this one, correct? The other one, I don't know. I felt like painting it, but something about the texture doesn't work. I do have something else. I do have a different scene with it's not a palm tree. It's just a tree that I think is going to be a good painting. I'll show you. Probably on Instagram in the next week, probably. It's a tree. It is very detailed. There's a lot of branches, a lot of stuff there to see that I really, really like. Now, if I go to my artworks folder, framed paintings. Okay, so just to show you, because I have pictures of these from the gallery. Share screen. There we go. Okay. So I have most of these. I think all of the pictures of all of them framed. Cool. Yeah, they're great. They're great. If you want to tell me what country it is, are there others there? Like, if it's Van Gogh, where is it easy to get Van Goghs? Is it somewhere in Europe? Because in Europe, you can get a lot of good colors. Okay, let's go. So we have this one, the shoes, the shoe rack. This is a cool one. I love it. Now the pictures aren't the best in terms of the angle. You see a bit of reflection in them, but that's fine. It's actually quite hard to take pictures without the reflections when it's framed. But this would be like the main, the key painting in this auction. This one is, I like how it looks almost the best framed. I don't know why. Then we have this. This is another like really good one. I'm happy with. Oh, you can barely see anything. Let me go back to this setup. Sorry. So again, shoes. We have this one. I have this one of my favorites from this auction block. What can I say? I mean, I love the way it turned out. Everything here with the mountains. There's small detail like rocks. Almost looks like sheep there in the background. There's this restaurant scene. These are very popular. There's this one, if you remember, Stormy Night. And I think this one's going to do really well, too. This is actually the previous apartment where we lived. It was in this street. And then we moved from there. But this was a mini junction. I would go through almost every day, you know, walking with Ruth. And one day I saw that it had a very interesting light to it. So it's funny. This is something I haven't talked about, or maybe I have. I'm not sure. The thing that inspired me most about this one was the light reflecting here. The sun was directly reflected in my face, like blinding me here. And that was the impetus for painting this whole thing. You can see a bit of it here too, but this is the really brightest one. And then it ended up looking really good with the cars here as well, and the reflections in the cars. So yeah, quite happy with how this one turned out. I think it's going to do well. It's the first painting that I got a bid to, so hopefully it will do well. But yeah, this is pretty much what's going in this auction. Nina, Serbia. Okay, I have others, but only online. We have more supplies for oils and acrylics in every art store. Even getting good quality paper is a hustle. Yeah, paper is terrible here as well. Here, paints are very easy to find. Brushes are very easy to find. Paper is a big, big problem. To me, it also worked best online in terms of like the huge arch roll that I got it off Amazon, and that enables you to paint pretty much whatever size you want. You're only limited to the 120 centimeters height of the roll, but then you can unroll it as much as you want. Now, if you wanna paint 3 by 4 meters, you won't be able to do that. That's gonna be a problem. But yeah, I'm feeling good in terms of like getting settled in. I feel like my inspiration to paint is slowly returning, because it's hard after a move. Sometimes I'll find something that really makes me curious to paint, like in that previous apartment, the shoes that I've shown you, this one. It's a beautiful scene from that apartment with the tiles and everything. But sometimes it just won't feel like that. And it takes a while for me to feel like I want to paint. So yeah, it's starting to come back now, and I foresee in the next, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks, some interesting paintings. This is like the beginning. This one, the people, is the beginning of that segment, I think. But yeah, it's definitely like over time, I definitely feel better and better with my paintings. Even if some of them could be considered worse than others, like new paintings that could be considered worse than old ones, I still like them more because I can tell they're more me and myself, you know. Sammy, I have some colors from Van Gogh and some from Rembrandt, but Sennelier, Schminke, and Daniel Smith are worth of their higher price in many colors. Yeah, for sure. Schminke and Daniel Smith for sure. Sennelier, I didn't have yet a good experience with, but I haven't tried a lot of their more professional grade. I tried 1 or 2. I didn't really like them. Rembrandt, I haven't tried. I heard good things. But yeah, for beginners, definitely Van Gogh, I think, is more than enough. Here, the best you could get is White Nights for beginners, I think, in terms of cheaper price, but still great quality. Yeah. But yeah, sure, a lot of it is a matter of taste, you know. Ryuzaki. Ew. Hey man, is drawing painting your money-making career, or do you have other job? Because in this field, it is pretty hard to earn good amount of money. Yeah, I mean, the kind of reason I got into it was so that I don't work a job. I was able to work for 2 weeks and then for a year as an employee in a company. It's just very hard for me to do. That's just, I think, a personality thing. I think for a lot of people, it's easier and it feels more not only convenient but more satisfying. But to me, I just can't. There's stuff I want to do, and if I'm pulled away from doing my art, I lose it. So yeah, it's definitely my career. And it has, it took a couple of years to take off and to feel like confident in it. But yeah, it's here. Now, I don't just sell paintings. That would have been hard to make enough money from. I sell courses and I teach and all of that. So everything together and amounts to something you can make a good living off of. But if you just want to make money from selling paintings, it is possible. Of course, it is possible. It's a different route, and it takes a bit of time to cook. Like, you build your audience of collectors slowly and gradually, and with time, yes, you can definitely make a career out of it. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. And I love L, so I love your profile pic. Jacqueline, it's always hard for me to get inspired to paint again when I paint a bad painting. It throws me off. Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you define a bad painting. To me, a bad painting is when I didn't paint how I wanted to paint. So if a painting turned out in a non-satisfactory manner, but I still did what I wanted to do, like this, by the way. For this example, I don't like it, but I painted it completely freely. That's just what happened. I'm fine with it. It's just another, like, check the box, throw it in a pile somewhere, and move on to the next one. You don't always know what will make them connect. That's the thing. You don't always know. Some scenes just bring it out of you, others not as much. I'm probably going to have another go at this and even try to fix this. The thing I don't like is that, like, I did everything the way I envisioned it, and somehow it doesn't look good. I can't explain why, like, what's missing there. I'm not sure. Especially if I felt like I have a good grasp of the scene. I'm like, yeah, I think I know exactly how I want to portray it. And then it still doesn't go your way. That can happen. Ryuzaki, man, you should definitely try Kennel Artist watercolors. Yeah, I've got a lot of recommendations. I've gotten a lot of them. I have so many paints. There's no real point in buying more. But honestly, if I would walk into an art store here and I'll see them, I'll get a tube. It's just not worth really the shipping from Amazon for just that. But yeah, I may give them a try in the future. Tara, White Knights and Rosa Gallery are actually great paints. Yes, they are, both of them. And they're not... Rosa Gallery, honestly, I don't remember the price. White Knights are priced better than Daniel Smith here, so they're a great option. Andrew, have you made any changes to the set of brushes you use on a regular basis? If there was a recent changes, I am using more of that bamboo brush that you've seen throughout the process I shared today. From the Michael Soloviev set. Now, the reason for that is, I'm not sure what it is about this brush in particular. It's just a good product. It's like, I introduced that. Mostly I use the same ones: Levinson, Escoda, some Winsor Newton for the huge ones. But this one it's really good for the technique I've shown today. The very subtle capturing of wet and wet, where you match the level of wetness almost to the T, but just go a little bit stronger. And you do that for a relatively advanced drying wash. So the wash is starting to get dangerously dry, but you can still nail in just that little bit of detail that will just stay there and spread very gently. I find that it's easier to do with this brush. For some reason, it's easier to mix paint with it and then dab it on a paper towel to get rid of moisture. It's easier to do it with this brush. Not sure why. This brush brings out a lot of good stuff in me. I painted this thing with this brush. You've seen the video maybe. This painting was painted with this brush mostly, if I recall. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that's how it kind of changed over the years. One thing I did get rid of was I I couldn't really find a lot of flat brushes that answer my needs. They don't have good water capacity. So I dropped these with time. I dropped some nylon brushes that I didn't like by Princeton. But yeah, pretty much it. Nancy, I really admire your determination and dedication to following your passion. Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, I don't even know if it's worth admiring. I just don't know how to do anything else. Honestly, that's just the only thing I know how to do. Nina, I have Sennelier. I should say Nina Art. I have Sennelier, but I don't know why I like Van Gogh more. Same here. Maybe it's only because of the colors I have from each one. That can also be a factor, yes. But thanks, I'll definitely try and get a hold of something better soon. Yeah, sure. If you get a few like tubes of Daniel Smith or whatever, they can go. Okay, test test. Okay, yeah. I don't know why. Maybe my maybe this thing lost its battery or something. I don't know. Why would the sound go? It's very strange. Okay, I found a reason. So now it should be back. It didn't unplug. It's just it needs battery. It needs charging. That was the reason. Let me see how the audio is. Well, we'll use the Brio. This is the Logitech camera. That's fine. The receiver for this thing needs charging. That's why it stopped happening. Stopped the audio. I'm sorry about that. I don't know when it stopped. Bro, we're all deaf. Sorry. Let's see. So I was saying, did you get my answer about painting with no? The favorite subject matter is like, hopefully you heard that. Cars. I mean, I can check when the sound cut off, but whatever. Cars and I mentioned that very infrequently I will paint without reference photos. Yes, that can happen. But just to play around with the paint, nothing too serious. Darnell, hey, how are you? On the back of my business card, I had the saying, though a living cannot be made at art, art makes life worth living. But I can tell you work much harder than I ever did making it art a business. Yeah, I've been very intense with it for sure. It's just, it was very hard for me always to be an employee. Employee, yes. I don't know why. I think, had I found a job in something that really captures me and fascinates me, I think I could have done it. But if it's not artistic, it's very hard. And even if you do something artistic in a company, startup, whatever, you'll always be like tight frame, or you'll end up doing a bunch of things that are more logistical and not really art. So, yeah. Sorry about the audio thing. Nancy, I had a woodworking teacher that said the same thing. That was the only thing she was good at. She's amazing. I was so sad when she moved to Las Vegas. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I guess you could say that I'm good at other things too that help. For example, talking to the camera and filming and editing videos, things I learned on the job, you could say. But still, let me check the audio once again just to make sure. It's less better than before. It's less than before, but that's fine. So yeah, I think I have a bunch of skills that work well in allowing me to turn it into a business. Now, I'm no businessman, honestly. Some people are much better than in it than me. I think the business could have been much, much larger had I been better at it, but I did build it the way I love it. It gives me maximum freedom. So yeah. Hey Laura, hope you're doing well. Good morning to you too. Marjorie, glad others don't hear, though. Oh boy, another host. Oh, sorry, Marjorie. How have you been? So wait, your hearing is not so good. So you're happy everyone's not hearing as well as you. But let me know. Hopefully the emergency wasn't too bad. Yeah, that sucks. Let's see here. Is it morning, y'all? It's 7 p.m. in India. Yeah, I think the earlier time is better for India too. Because usually the streams, here's Ryuzaki, this is earlier than my usual streams. Usually it starts at about, to me, like my local time, usually it'll start in 30 minutes. That's because of daylight saving time, and I started 1 hour earlier. So yeah. Yep. Glad it's back. Good. What is the moment that made your parents proud? Yeah, no, that's a good question. Ryuzaki, you have a lot of good questions. I'm not sure. It's good, funny questions. Hopefully a bunch of them, I guess. But yeah, I was a good student. I got good grades at school. I studied physics and computer software engineer in high school. I mean, not a degree. So I think that made them proud. Now, the fact I don't have a degree, I don't know if that makes them proud, honestly. But yeah. Wait, let's see. Where am I? Good morning from New Zealand. 2:30 a.m. Is it 2:30 a.m.? Wow. So it's not a good time. Wait, how does that make sense? Am I confusing AM and PM time New Zealand? What? Oh my, it is. It said Friday and I was shocked. It really is. Wow, okay, yeah, because yeah, sorry. It's not a good time. What is your dream car? The current car is like the boring, most mundane car you could think of. Dream car, I think just a Tesla, I think would be nice. Just or something like that, like advanced technology. Though I don't know much about cars, even though I paint them. Jacqueline, I switched majors 3 times. Finally got a degree in studio art. So what is that degree? What is a studio art degree? I'm not sure. I don't think we have it here. Let me know. TS sketches. Thank you so much for this. I was about to sleep, but you inspired me to paint. Oh, cool. Yeah. What are you or did you paint? Let me know. Yeah. I don't know. I may get a degree in the future. I'm not sure, but it's going to be mostly for me, like for my own fun and interest. It just hasn't really fit anywhere in my life to get a degree so far. And if you know what you want to do and you can just work at it, you don't need to have a degree for many things. If you want to be a lawyer, though, that's different. If you want to be a doctor, yeah. Can you hear the birds, by the way, now that we're on the webcam? Maybe you can. Bachelor's of Art. Okay, cool. Yeah, we have that. Is there anyone who was the main role in your painting career? No, just me. It's a good question, but no, it's just me. Do you ever? Yeah, I think I do. Studio art is painting, installation, etc. Oh, cool. Yeah. I love installations when they're done in an interesting way, which sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. I like them. It really depends. I have this bag of chips thing. I don't know if you're familiar with that thing. It's really interesting. It's a Mediterranean terra. It's like chips. I think in the UK they call it crisps. Am I correct? I think if someone can let me know. These are made from different not potatoes, also potatoes, but sweet potatoes and other weird root vegetables. I had a chill out room installation for final. I loved it. Oh, that's cool. So it's actually like designing a space and everything. Chill room. I mean, what could be more fun to design? So you design it, then at the end of the day, you're completely out. So you take a nap there or rest there. Hopefully, I understood it correctly. Cool, Nancy. You can hear the chirping. Yes, nice. Are you from the US or from where, man? I'm from Israel, so no US for me. That's why I have a funny accent. I live in Tel Aviv. But maybe not for long. We may be leaving the city. We'll see. Yes, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So that's fun. That is really fun. Fahim, a Studio Ghibli scene in Liron style. How might that look? I'm not sure. I mean, it's so good. Everything by Studio Ghibli is so unique. If anything, I like seeing other things in Studio Ghibli style. All of the different animes. I've seen a post where it has like Naruto and a bunch of other Studio Ghibli style. Now I have to see it. Studio Ghibli style. That I really, really liked. I saw, I think it was a Facebook post I saw. My art, there's actually, by the way, a popular art store in that exact name. What is your preferred way to paint, from live reference or photo? I think, honestly, it's more fun to paint from live reference. What I actually end up doing most of the time is from photos, because it's more practical and easier. But I did say, if you watch the latest episode of Painting Masters with Peter Brown, episode 85, that really inspired me to try more of my hand at plein air. So I really feel like doing it maybe next week. It'll happen. The weather is nice and there's good sun. So yeah. Luis, bro, I'm taking intro to watercolor. The only thing I don't like from my professor is that he plays so bad music. Horrible, according to him, is because we become one with the paint with jazz music. Yeah, it annoys me to hear, because yes, sometimes I love listening to music, but I don't dictate what music to have me listen to. Like, I could be in the mood for completely different things. Sometimes it will be more ambient, sometimes it'll be classical music, sometimes it'll be rock, metal, stuff like that. I listened to Linkin Park a few days ago all day long while painting. Linkin Park, not all day long because I didn't paint all day long, but for a couple of good hours. It's so silly. And sometimes I need silence when I paint. Sometimes I really need to focus. So yeah, that's a bit annoying. Rizaki, bro, you're from Israel, you look American. Yeah, I don't know if I look American. I disagree. Let's just say, when I'm abroad, people from here immediately can tell. They can tell immediately. Other Israelis, that is. Jacqueline, I can't zoom in when painting plein air. Yeah, that's a big problem. Can't zoom in. Can't see the edges of the picture because there's no picture. Makes it so hard. Yeah. It's much more difficult. To me, also, matching the colors still a nightmare in plein air. I look at it and I'm thinking to myself, what is that? Is that a green blue? Is that a blue blue? Is that a yellow blue? Is that a yellow green? Always happens to me. Man, can you say the only important thing in watercolor? Yes, water and paint. That's the only thing that's important in watercolor. It really is. The way you use them is up to you, but it's like, the fact is, the more water, the lighter, more flow, more time you'll have. That's the only real rule of watercolor. I have a video on that, the only rule in watercolor, by the way. My eyesight is bad too. Yeah, but you know what, Jacqueline? Funny enough, this could be an advantage. If you see things kind of blurry, it can simplify the scene for you. The disadvantage is if you get headaches from looking at things that are far away for too long, that can be a problem. Yeah, for sure. TL LMAO, matching the colors in planner is the most challenging part. Yeah, I don't get it. I have no idea why I always end up with ugly colors, like what I've shown you here. It was like night and it was a challenging light and shadow situation, but like, what is that? That looks like what I used to paint 7, 8 years ago. No, it's better. 7, 8 years ago, I was much worse than this, honestly. My art, do you ever add different mediums to watercolor paintings like alcohol and ink? No, I do want to try more, but I don't do that. No real reason to. It just, my process is like the simplest, most bland, boring, fewest colors, couple of brushes, and that's it. It could be interesting to try out different media, as you mentioned, even because I don't know, can you add soap and stuff like that? Because then you're having issues with acidity that can destroy the paint. So I'm not sure if you can. But yeah, there are some interesting effects you can get with watercolor for sure. Jacqueline, changing light to, yeah, but that to me is like a cost of entry. Like, yeah, that's just how it is, and that's fine. I'm fine with that. The other things are more problematic. I would also say rain could be a problem, though you could find solutions to that. But yeah, that would be the bigger problem in my opinion. Ryuzaki, hey bro, I drew the tractor painting that you have painted in another video, and I mixed my style and your style, dull colors. It came out to be so nice. And I also copied the boat from Liron. Liron became very popular somehow. Yeah, that boat painting is one of the first paintings I did with Daniel Smith watercolors, and one of my first videos where I was like, whoa, I really like the result. So it was a pivotal painting, believe it or not. Yeah, that painting is huge for me. That's cool. And I wanted to say, the fact that you mix it with your style, that's the best thing you can do. Sometimes it can feel very emptying and dead to just paint from a tutorial and copy the person painting. It's painting from secondhand impression, and if you feel like you want to express yourself, it really doesn't provide that. But if you do things your way, which I will talk about in the upcoming article, I don't know when it's going to be out. Actually, we'll have to. It's not yet super concrete, but we'll see. Yes, if you can do it your way, you're going to have much more fun. And you'll feel more fulfilled. So I'm really happy to hear that's your fave. Marjorie, at Sonnenberg Art Show, a professor brought a field studies class into my tent to talk about display. It was interesting. So what kind of a display? That's interesting to hear. I'm not sure. Like, I'm not an expert on displaying art. I would like to be. I would like to, even if I showcase my paintings, to show them in really beautiful frames or fancy frames. But what I find goes best is just generic, normal ones. But if I paint something really fancy, maybe at some point I will try also to put it in a fancy golden frame, or I don't know, something like that. It's something I wanted to try for a while. You just have to find the right painting for it. I really like paintings with strong contrast and chiaroscuro, where everything is dark in the background and it merges with the portrait or whatever. Who's the artist? Caravaggio, I think he's an artist that painted a lot like that. So for those, the golden frames work really well. Ryuzaki, hey bro, comment box was empty, so this is a comment to make you read something. Thank you. Yeah, no, we're gonna wrap it up soon. We're coming up to 2 hours, but Ryuzaki, I really appreciate you helping me with the questions. And I assume you saw all of Death Note, so I will say that you are one of my favorite characters, and the show is not the same without you. Yeah. I have so many animes that I need to watch, and this amount of time. I quit like midway through so many things. I want to watch Overlord, and I want to watch ReZero, and so many things. I watched like 6 episodes, 1 episode, 2, 3. Blue Eye Samurai, not really, well, kind of an anime. I've quit in episode 6 or 5, or like
I don't know, like 2 episodes before the last one. It's no time, not enough time at least to prioritize these things. Karan is fired. Sir, I'm 14 years old from India. Any advice for me? I mean, that depends on what you want. Let me know what you want. I'll see if I can come up with something. It really depends on where you want to go. So that's the first question to ask yourself, if you want to find out. I'm 5% sure that you're on this cure. 5% is really low, so I'm still good. Let me just write something real quick in my notebook. Is it up to 8%? What's your favorite color in watercolor? Oh, it's hard to say. I think lately I've been really enjoying cobalt blues mixed with a bit of white. So something like I keep forgetting the name, Dentiner blue, something like that, that I really like, by Mission Gold. Think about mixing cobalt blue with permanent white. Caravaggio, Rembrandt also. Yes, Rembrandt also. Another one I had on my mind. Marjorie, are juried shows a thing in Israel? Not really. Once in a while. We do have the local watercolor society, IWS. It's good. I've participated in an exhibition or two before, but not really like juried shows. It's more like you send the paintings, you email them, a jury decides, and it's not like a live thing. No, for sure it's not. And it's nothing really fancy, but it's good. They're doing a good job. They're doing a really good job. They're representatives here. They're really good. I would say that watercolor is pretty popular here. Like, compared to population size, it is pretty popular in the sense of there's a lot of people doing it. And I'm not sure why it is, because a lot of people came here from Europe, made Aliyah basically, and in Russia and Ukraine and a bunch of other places, watercolor is just really popular. So it could be the reason. Cubs win. How are you? Always great to see you, Liron. Love your books. Thank you so much, my friend. I did an interesting painting process. By the way, to anyone who joined late, we painted this thing. I had a recording of it and I narrated it live, so you'll be able to go back and watch it after the fact. I think it's a good process. And I will upload it eventually as a video, probably. Ryuzaki, is it nice to mix other mediums with watercolor? You know, I do that with gouache. I mixed designer's gouache, it's called, with watercolor, white, permanent white. It works really well. Gouache works well. Now, acrylics, I did try a few times, not to necessarily mix it in the mix, but to paint over dry watercolor. I got mixed results. I didn't always like how it turned out, you know. Jacqueline, my daughter writes a fanfic about Kira. Oh, really? That's funny. That's interesting. I have a phone call. I don't know who it's from, so I'm just going to message them. Sorry, I can't talk right now. Cubs win. You might not want to answer, but do you feel safe each day? Generally, yes. But there is a bit of a looming bad feeling. Yes. And a lot of people I know and a lot of friends of friends, family of friends, and friends of family are in active duty. So, yeah, yeah, it's not the easiest of situations, for sure. So yeah, right now I do feel more safe, but you know, you never know. It really changes your kind of perception of reality. You really never know. Yeah, I don't have a good answer for that, unfortunately. That's how I feel. Man, what is the situation that you felt like you've become successful all of a sudden? I don't know what it means. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Man, it's a tough world out there. What can I say? Everywhere. Nowhere is really safe. Yeah. Now, if you ask Ryuzak if there was a moment where I felt successful, I think passing 100,000 on YouTube and getting this thing right here, that made me feel pretty good. I remember that, and it's so funny because I didn't even know once you reach 100,000, you kind of need to actively ask to get the play button, and I just forgot. and then I was up to 150, and then I was like, why don't I get a button? It's been like 6 months. So I went and checked, and then I saw, oh, you need to actually email whatever team YouTube or request it from the dashboard. So I requested it, and then about a month later, I had it in hand. That made me feel pretty successful. It's like the first stamp from someone else who's not yourself to say, oh, you've done well. But honestly, selling the courses and the paintings, that's something that no one sees. The moment where you complete a product and launch it, it's the most unglamorous moment ever. Like you write the last word in a book, you finish formatting it, whatever, publishing it. No one knows until you tell them. It's just a moment of you and yourself alone. My art. What do you think of fluid art? Paint pouring as art. Oh, you mean like there's this guy, something Schaub, something like that on Instagram, that he pours on a canvas, rotates it. Honestly, he's doing pretty complex stuff. Things I wouldn't be able to do easily. So I'm the last person who will say it's not art or, to judge it. I think sometimes the art is in the process of building a process, and then a lot of it is automated. You can do very similar things with watercolor. To have a process that is very based on actions and pouring and doing and using the natural effects that occur. But even doing that is not easy. It takes work. It takes learning about the medium you're using. It takes effort in building the contraptions in this case. I forgot his name, but he's really popular. He shares sometimes messages with people telling him it's not art, it's crap. But he's a good guy. He doesn't care. So yeah, I like it. I think there's a very skillful way to do it. And like any other medium or approach or style, you can do it the lazy way. You can do it the really dedicated way and serious way. What do you think, my art? What do you think about that? And is it something you kind of do or dabble in or paint? Let me know. Cubs win. I do not feel my watercolor is all that great. I've been told I have an eye to know what is needed in a painting, so I'll be glad when I personally can make it happen. I feel that mine lack the flow. Yeah, and I mean that's a very common thing. Even after you feel more comfortable with the technique, there's something to how it all connects together that can be quite tricky, and it's okay, it is there's nothing wrong with being there. I'm still there very often. Yeah, feel free to email me some works, kind of ask me about it, and I'll be able to maybe provide some, not advice. It's not going to be like, this is what you should do, but it's more about, maybe you're not noticing, but something works really well in your paintings. But here I recognize that maybe you just didn't really care about something, so maybe the result is inferior. There's a lot of things that sometimes it's hard to tell without seeing it. Yeah, email me for sure. I'll be happy to see. My art, that's what I do, me and my sisters. Cool. That's really, really cool. Yeah, I'm curious to see. So do you so what medium do you do that with? Is it watercolor or acrylics? Because I know you can do it with a lot of different media. Let me know. Ryuzaki, man, do you think war is right because we're just the world universe in that, so we're fighting ahead, man? I'm talking about all those who die in war, I guess. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I agree. What's not to agree? It's total crap, a waste of life and energy. Yeah. Man, you're so wholesome. Yeah, thank you. I am an introvert, by the way. I saw you write that. Yes, I'm an introvert. It really depends on the situation. But yes, one-on-one, I can be quite talkative. In a group, it depends on the dynamic. So my group of friends, I can be very talkative and very extroverted, sorry. But then in many situations, I'll be an introvert. Yes. I used to paint with ice cubes and acrylics. Large canvases, abstract art is really fun to make. How do you paint with ice cubes and acrylics? Do you kind of roll them on paper and then let them create patterns? I'm curious. My art, I'm currently learning watercolor. Yes, email me. Okay, acrylic pouring. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I like a lot of the results there. I think they can look really fancy and really nice. I have seen some wonderful art done like that. And some very complex things. Now, this guy that I talked about, let's see if I can find his Instagram. How can I find, is it Caleb? Could it be Caleb? It's not Caleb. What's his name? I don't remember. You may know who I'm talking about. Kalen, not Caleb. Kalen Schaub. Yeah, okay. So I don't know if that's anything like what you're doing, but let me show you, and you can tell me. Caleb and Kalen. It's funny. It's so different names, but still I confuse them. They sound very similar phonetically. Kalen Schaub. Yeah, so present your screen, Chrome tab. There we go. Sure. Yeah, so this guy, he's doing some really interesting things. Now I see he branched out, but once my connection comes back from receiving live support, I'll be able to show you. So I don't know if that's the kind of thing you do. He has this contraption, this kind of a thing. I really like that. Now, sometimes what I wanted to say is, sometimes he does things that I'm like, why did you change them? They looked perfect. So he'll do this kind of a thing, right? Okay. And then he'll pour white all over it. I'm like, why did you erase everything you've done so far? It looked so good. That's my qualms sometimes with what he does, but he's really good and he makes interesting stuff, and it sells for a lot. So I don't know. Tell me, is that my art? Is that similar to this style or the thing you do? Because he merges it with this rotation and everything, and he used to have a much more simple kind of thing where you'd rotate it. I think this is manually too, but he had, like with bicycles, he had some real guerrilla stuff, and then he really improved his process. Jacqueline, put the paint on the canvas and an ice cube on top, let it melt. It's flat on the ground. Okay, wow, I had no idea that's a thing. Ice cube acrylic painting. If I Google that, will I find it? Or is that a really niche thing? Yeah, it just finds. Okay, yeah, I see ice cube painting. Interesting. Yeah, I had no idea that's a thing. That's really cool. There's so much going on out there that you don't like. You have no idea people do. Okay, this is gonna be an interesting one. I can tell. Mike, can you tell me an important thing in portrait drawing? Like, I can get better. Yeah, portrait drawing or painting. I think portraits in particular are a little complex in that. Let's pause this. I think it's slowing down the connection. Or no, let's continue. Whatever. Portraits, it's tricky because it does help to learn the structure of the face. Like, it really does help to know what the nose is built like, what the eyes are built like. But then even after you have this knowledge, you still need to be super sensitive to the person or subject you're painting. And I find it's a trick. It may work for you. When you paint a person you know personally, it can lead to better results. You're just more engaged with it. You end up getting something more, I suppose, more personal. So I don't know if that's the kind of thing that will help you. To me, it helped. Whenever I did, and I didn't do much of it, but whenever I did paint people I personally know, sorry, I just want to check something real quick. I ended up getting much better results, much more personal, much more nuanced. But it is hard, Portraits aren't the easiest thing to paint. They aren't, and it's okay. So I just gotta do one quick thing. You'll forgive me. Okay, so I need to. Okay, good. Let's see. I made it up. Cool. Okay. So it's not something I can Google. That sounds really interesting. That's the coolest type of process you can really do. That's really fun. So you invented something completely of your own. That's really cool. I don't want to do a screen print screen here again. Sorry. Okay. Maybe I'll do a video of it. Yeah, that would be interesting to see. I guess you could do so much with acrylics because they just work with a bunch of other media, or yeah, I would be curious for sure to see it. Yeah, sorry about that. Born Again Farm Girl, love you, my artist friends. Cool. Thank you for being here. Oh wait, I missed another one. Jansart, I played around with soap and alcohol mixed with watercolor, but never in a serious finished painting. It's fun. Yeah, how does that work? I do know, and I have seen before, painters, I think, what's his name? Rob something. He mixes soap and a bunch of stuff, but he does that with, what was it? Ink. And the ink flows really nicely, but I think the ink is more robust, meaning it won't shift with time because you've added soap and different things to it, but it still creates cool effects. So that could be interesting, because with watercolor, I really don't know if they'll survive this, you know. But yeah, thank you so much, Ryuzaki, asking the hard questions. What's real LGBTQ? Like, isn't it nonsense? So it's pretty much going out of road. But yeah, it's really off topic. No, I don't think it's nonsense though. Guess I still need time to find order in chaos. Wow, we're going deep. What do you mean by that, Gus? I'm curious. Jacqueline, can an artist have a double life, like serious watercolor realism and then acrylic abstracts? Should I use a different name? No, I think you could. You know, in terms of branding, by the way, let me turn on the light. In terms of there we go. In terms of branding and like how professional you go with it and how you brand yourself as an artist, pros may tell you that it's not a good idea, especially if you have like a bunch of collectors that collect your work and then suddenly you're doing something very different. It could make them worried. If you ask me, I don't know if it's such a big deal. There was this guy, this guy, you know, I keep forgetting names. You know, I did a painting masters on him. Skip Lawrence. He had a completely separate way of creating with watercolors that are more, I would say, similar to what I do. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, kind of representational watercolor, kind of impressionistic. And then he had the completely, you know, abstract. I think it was acrylics, by the way. So yeah, it's totally doable. Some people do it. Born Again Farm Girl. I used marbles in watercolor and it was very fun. How do you use marbles? Do you let them roll on the water or do you dip them and roll them with water? That's interesting. It's the kind of things I never have ever thought of. People do cool stuff. I'm just like, yeah, painting like everyone else. Do you think AI is going to replace y'all? You know what the thing is? The reason I'm not too worried about that kind of a thing is because I teach people how to paint. So the experience of painting is still something, the craft is still something people will seek. So I'm not too worried. Now, is the fact that a robot can, you know, at some point maybe make watercolors that are better than mine kind of annoying a bit? It is a bit annoying, you know, but I don't think it's going to replace people. Like, I'm not delusional. I'm pretty sure it will reach levels where it could, where it would be, you know, you won't be able to. Oh, I didn't put the microphone to charge. Where it would be indiscernible from, like, you'll have an AI thing that will paint something that looks just like a Bookvich painting, I'm pretty sure that will happen. What can you do? It's life. Do you know Scott Christian Sava? Yeah, I have seen a couple of short videos on YouTube. I think he's very popular with his short videos, right? I'm familiar with him. Yeah, he has some cool stuff. Not my style, but he has some cool stuff. My art, yes, I have seen his work. Mine are more like string art and blooms, which you layer puddles and either spin it or tilt. Cool. Creator of Blossoms is Sheely Art. Let's see, Sheely Art. Let's see. I am unfamiliar. Bloom pour recipe. Okay, now I'm curious. Now you got me curious. I want to see what it looks like. Wait, I don't want a video of the materials. Oh, okay, now I see. This is really fun. Yeah, this looks really, really good. So just so you know what I'm looking at, I mean, my art, you know what I'm looking at, but everyone else may not. This kind of a thing. This is crazy. This is really crazy. I love that. That's really cool. That's a cool effect. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Now I wonder if you could achieve something similar in watercolor. Now that makes me think about that. Hey Lydia, how are you? Hope you're doing well. What's your favorite thing to do in watercolor? You know, I like to let things solve themselves on paper. That's one of my favorite things to do. Just put the paint and water and let the colors mix very freely. Just let them do their thing. Skip Lawrence, yes, indeed. I keep forgetting names. I should get that checked. Yes, Art, I do realistic portraits and animals. Sometimes you need a break doing different styles, even if it's just for yourself or a fun gift. Yeah, same here. I did a painting. It was a favor to my sister. She wanted a present painting for someone, and it was, I painted like, I don't know, some kind of a singer, rock star, whatever, old one. I don't remember who it was now. So I made a painting of him. She gave it as a gift. And that was completely different. And I find it's a nice refresher. It makes you almost want to really jump back into the thing you're used to. Sometimes that taking a bit of a break from it can really bring you back to it. So yeah, really fun. The marbles just roll around in the paint. I was in a dry spell, so I figured why not? And it turned out really pretty cool. I would never think of doing that. So now I'm curious if you dip them in water and then let them roll and leave a trail, instead of letting them roll over existing wash. What could happen? I'm so bad at doing these experiments, I have to admit. My art, thank you for your time, Liron. Be safe. Yeah, thank you so much. Jayashilan, hi sir, my name is Jitul, and I am from Kerala in India. I'm 16 years old and I love your art tutorials. I also draw landscapes and portraits in watercolor and graphite. Your method is awesome, sir. Oh, that's cool. Do you use, by the way, so you use them separately, I assume, but do you mix graphite with watercolor? Because I have seen that done in a really interesting way. And I did want to do that myself a bit. So it's really cool to see. Yeah, that's really cool. I keep thinking, you know, I don't have to just paint with watercolor. I can mix in other things with it, but watercolor will always be the main one for me. The artist I was thinking of is Ray Bulkwell. He is, let me show you, you know, I can show you. Ray Bulkwell paintings. So he's really interesting in that he mixes, I think it's acrylics, maybe some watercolor too, with graphite. By the way, when you look for his name, one of the first things that come up is my video on him. So that's cool. Share Chrome tab. There we go. This is me covering Ray Bulkwell's work. But yeah, let's go to images. So I don't know if it will be easy to see, but so okay, we'll have to zoom in because Google Images interface kind of sucks. Maybe we'll do this. Or maybe it won't help. No, it doesn't help because it opens in a new tab. But yeah, maybe you can see there's a bunch of stuff there. It's not just acrylics. He mixes some graphite with it, some charcoal, maybe charcoal and not graphite. I'm not sure, but yeah, he has a very interesting process, and I think his impression of stuff is wonderful. This is one of my favorites still. And you can see all of these effects and splashes. So yeah, I quite like that. But yeah, I think this is a good time to end today's stream. It's been an interesting one, a long one too. So we had this thing process. Go back and check it out. I will probably post at some point just the process and a narration, but I think it's an interesting process. I barely mentioned, but if you want to own this painting, it is for purchase on the gallery. I think it's linked in the description box below. So check that out if you're interested. I think it's a really unique one. So yeah, you may enjoy seeing it in person. I think it's a really unique experience. So yeah, feel free to check that out. As always, check out the courses if you want to learn how to paint freely. Saturday's video is going to be really fun. Just again teasing it. I'm going to show you how I paint this scene from a lovely photo from Wet Canvas from the visual library there. I do link to the original one as well. You're going to love this video, I think. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, John. And thank you, Nancy. And thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you being here. I want to do more of these live streams where I do present a full painting process, and also some where I paint live. Once I kind of improve the light setup here, it's not that good for the times that we're streaming. It would need to be earlier, but we'll see. We'll figure it out. But thank you so much. Thank you, My Art. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jayashilan, which actually it's not your name. Your name is Jithul. So thank you so much for that. Thank you, Jacqueline. Really appreciate you being here from the very start as well. How do we get to Saturday stream? It's not going to be a stream. It's going to be a video. You'll see it on the channel. Should be out around 7:30, 7:45 a.m. morning Saturday. I could schedule like a preview, premiere, but I think I'll just post it. You'll see it posted if you go to my channel anytime on Saturday after 7:30 a.m. Eastern. You'll see it. Yes. So it's not going to be live, so don't worry about that. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you think of that process too. Right, guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend as well. I will talk to you all soon. Till next time.